Hello everyone, welcome to this class. In this class we continue with our class on percentages. Now we're going to deal with some word problems. This is example 7. Let's go. The price of a set of carpet is given as 45,000 naira or 21,000 naira down and the balance in 12-month payment of 2,475 naira. What percentage more will be paid if the set is bought on hire purchase? So you have a material that the price is 45,000 naira. So the price is what? 45,000 naira. And you know, in business there's this thing that they do. If you don't have the money right now, you can pay instrumentally. So for the installment payment, I'll call that hire purchase. You can pay 21,000 naira and then pay 2,475,000 naira for 12 months. Are we together? So you're now to find how much more if you use the installment plan, which is the hire purchase plan. How much more in percentage are you paying as against for those that are paying outright? So first, let's find out how much this will cost if you go for the hire purchase. So for the hire purchase, plus here, this will be 21,000 naira plus 12 times. I don't need to put the naira anymore, but then 275,000 naira. Are we together? So that will give you 21,000 naira plus 29,700 naira. So when you add this, you will have 50,700 naira. So the extra money you are paying for following the hire purchase is the actual price. Let me use actual price. Are we together? Or let's say the hire purchase minus the actual price, which is 50,700 naira minus 45,000 naira, which should give us 5,700 naira. So this is extra money you are paying. So let's find the percentage. What we are asked is what is the percentage more. So the extra percentage we are paying more is the extra money all over the actual price of the material times 100 divided by 1. So by the time you divide this, find out that 0 is out, cancel. So what you are going to get from this is 12 whole number 3 2/3%, and this is your answer. So in example 8, we are being told to increase 180 milliliter by 40%. There are two ways you can go about this. Let's go for the first method. Let me write it. First method. We are being told to increase by 140%. It means initially it was in 100%, right? And you are being told to increase it by 140. So that means you have to add 40%. When you add 40%, what would it now be? It will now be what? 140%. So simply multiply this by this, because this is what we are increasing. You can just say 180 times 140%. Right? Now when you remove this percentage, what are you having? You divide this by 100. Don't forget that, because we did it in our last part. Whenever you see percent, it means if you want to divide it, when you want to work with it, you work with the fractional part of, which means you have to divide by 100. So this will now be 180 times 140 divided by what? 100. By the time you do this your calculation, you will have 252 milliliter as your answer. Then the second method, which is the common one we are being taught every time, is simply find the 40% and add to it. So the second method, you just say, okay, we have to increase by 40%. What's 40% of 180? This is 40% of 180 milliliter. So that will be 40 over 100. By the time you remove the percentage, that divide by 100 times 180. Are we together? So when you do that, you are getting 72 milliliter, right? So you now add it because you're being told to increase by, so that's what you're adding. 72 plus 180. When you add this, you will get 252 milliliter. And you can see we're having the same answer, the same thing. So the next we have to do is decrease 3,600 naira by 15%. So we can go about our first method and second method. For first method, as we did in the last example, simply say 100%, and you're being told to decrease, so you subtract minus 15%. What will you have? You have 85%. So you can just say 3,600 naira times 85%. So which is the same as 3,600 naira times 85 over 100. After solving, you will get 3,060 naira as your answer. Now let's go to the second method of solving it. So we just say something like, first you find 15% of 3,600 naira, which is 15 all over 100 times 3,600 naira, right? So what you are going to get when you do this calculation, you will have 540 naira. So you simply subtract this from this because you are being told to decrease 3,600 naira minus 540 naira, and your answer is still giving you the same 3,060 naira. Hope it's very clear and simple. In this example, we have 186 is the result of increasing a number by 20%. Find the number. Let's call the number x, right? And that's what we are looking for. But when you have 120% of x, like x as 120%, that's 100 plus 20%, that's 120%, is what? 186. So 100%, which is what x should be, is what? The x that we are looking for. Then remember what I told you in the next class. Anytime you have this proportional question like this always work. This is a shortcut, because I said in this class I'll be teaching you both my shortcut and the real maths you have to solve for. So you just cross multiply. When you cross multiply, you have 120x is 186 times 100. So x, when you make x the subject of the formula, is 186 times 100 all over 120. By the time you solve for this, you will get that your x is 155. In example 11, excuse me, a mat was bought for 420 naira and sold at a profit of 35%. Calculate the selling price. What's profit? If you hear profit, it means it was added, but if you hear loss, it means it was decreased. So we still have, remember our last class, how we deal with increase in percentage and decrease in percentage. So we are dealing with profit here, which means increase. So the real selling price, or what I say, cost price, is 420, which is like the 100% of it. But it was sold at a profit of 35%. So because it's adding, let's use the first method where we just do 100% plus what? 35%, which is giving us 135%. So we just multiply this 135% to this price and we'll get 135% of 420 naira, which is 135 over excuse me, over 100 times 420. By the time you solve for this, your answer will give you 567 naira. Example 12. By selling a house for 6,900,000 naira, a builder makes a profit of 15%. How much did the house cost? Listen very carefully. When he sold this house at this 6,900,000 naira, he has already made the profit, meaning this is the selling price, this is the cost price plus his profit of 15%. So we all know that the real cost price is the 100% that we are looking for. But when he sold it, which is the selling price, is already this 100% plus the profit, which in this case is what? 15%. So the total money is now 15%, right? And this 15% is equal to this 6,900,000 naira. So let's look for the cost price. Remember what I told you about proportion? It always works so long as you're dealing with proportion. You can say, okay, 115% is equal to excuse me, is equal to 6,900,000 naira. So what we are looking for is the cost price, which is the what? 100%. The 100% will be equal to what? X. That's what we are looking for. Simply cross multiply. You have 115. X is 6,900,000 naira times 100. So your X will now be 6 million. Oh, like there should be percentage, right? Your X will now be 6,900,000 naira times 100%. Then this will divide, all divided by 115%. So this percent will cancel out this percent. The naira is still there. So by the time you solve this, and you have your answer as answer will now be 6 million naira. So mind you, this percent always work. You don't need to go through the rigorous process as you can see maybe in your textbook of trying to, but once you know the percentage and equate both percent, cross multiply it and solve, you will get your answer. Example 13. A radio is sold for 5,370 naira at a loss of 12%. Now we are dealing with loss. So whenever you see loss, it means decrease. Calculate the cost price. So let's say the cost price is still what? 100%. Cost price is always 100%, whether you are dealing with loss or you are dealing with profit. So don't mistake it. So this, let's talk about the selling price. Selling price is now 100% minus 12.5%, which is 7.5%. Oh my, I forgot to put the half. It's 7.5. This is 7.5%. Right? And we all know that this 87 5.5%. Why am I always missing this up? Is equal to 5670. 5,770. So now what we are looking for is what? The 100%, which is the cost price. So the 100% is now what we are looking for, which is X. Remember what I told you, proportion always work, just cross multiply. You have 87 and 1/2x will give you 100 times 5670. So your X will now be 100 times 5670 all divided by 87 and 1/7. If you notice, I'm not trying to show this in the previous class when we are dealing with fractions and decimal. I was showing how I'm going about, because it was very important in that class to show how you can solve decimals without using calculator. But here you can use your calculator to find your answer. You understand that I'm not trying to show how my full working. So by the time you solve for this, what you're going to get is simply so it makes sense that the cost price is higher because the seller made a loss. He sold less, and that's why he's making a loss. So this proportion always work. The only time it will not work is if you mess it up, you didn't get the right proportion. Like in this case where you have a loss, some will make mistake of making the selling price 100%. No, once you get the right percentage, the selling price is 100% and the cost price is 100%, selling price is this, just do your proportion. This is equal to this, therefore that will be equal to X, cross multiply. It will save you the whole stress of trying to break it down. So welcome to exercise 3F. This exercise 3F number 1 will summarize everything you need to know about these percentages. That's how I want to do it. First, you are asked, by what fraction should a quantity be multiplied to increase it? B, decrease it. And we are being told to what? Not to factorize. Once we just get the answer, we'll leave it that way. We don't need to start factorizing to the smallest term. Now for increase, you are being told to increase something by 20%. Let's go for increase first. Increase. You are being told to increase by 20%. What are we going to do? Remember what we did in our first method. Just add this 20% to 100 and multiply it, the quantity, by that whatever you get divided by 100. So in this case, it will be 120%. When you add it by 100, that's if you leave it in percentage. But in fractional form, which is what we actually want, is 120 divided by 100. Now multiply this to the value, it will definitely increase by 20%. Then for 50%, simply add it to 100. It will be 150 over what? 100. For 37%, when you add to 100, it will be 137 over what? 100. When you multiply any value by this, it will increase by this percent. For 6%, it will be 106 over what? 100. Then for 130%, 130 plus 100 will give you 230 over what? 100. These are the fractional value multiplier you need to increase it by this percentage. Then for decrease, it is enough. Decrease. For 20%, this time around you start subtracting. For 20%, it will be what? 100 minus 20 is 80 over 100. For 50%, let me just do it here. 50%, 100 minus 50, which is what? 50 over 100. For 37%, 100 minus 37 is what? 63. 63 over 100 times the value. For 6%, 100 minus 6 is what? 94. It will be 94 over 100. Then for 130%, here is a little bit tricky. You can't decrease a number beyond its 100%. Let's say you have 100 naira. For you to decrease this number to 100%, is like saying 100 naira minus 100 naira, right? We should give you what? 0. If you say you want to decrease it maybe by 120%, it's like you are doing 100 naira minus 120 naira. That's minus 20, and you can't just have 1 minus 20. It doesn't, though it's when you are dealing with negative number it works, but in this case it does not work. You can increase a number as much as possible. Let's say this 100, I want to increase it by 200%. You understand? That's like 100 plus 200, which is 300%. You can say 100 times 200 over 100 times 100 naira. At the end of the day, you are getting 300 naira. You can increase it as much as you want, but when you want to decrease, there's a limit. You can't decrease below the 100%. So this 130 is already below 100%. Like you are decreasing it beyond 100%, it will not work. So this cannot work. Let's solve one example exercise. So number 15. A car dealer gained 40,000 naira on a sale. If it was equivalent to 8% profit, what was the cost of the price? Now, listen, this is not selling price. This is not cost price. This is profit. So you can be sure. For those of us that want to use my proportional method, the profit is what? 40,000 naira. And we are being told that this 14,000 naira is the same as what? 8%. So simply, you can just say 8% is 40,000 naira. So what was the cost price of the car? Which I always say cost price is always 100%. So 100% is what? X. So simply do your cross multiply as I told you, and you have 40,000 times 100 is equal to 8x. So your x will now be 40,000 times 100. Okay, 100 not. All divided by what? 8. When x is make the solve of the formula. So by the time you solve for this, you are getting, I think 4 go here is 2. 4 go here is 10,000. 2 go here. 2 go here 50. 50 times 10,000. That's 500,000. So this is your cost price. So this proportion always work. Though if you are to, let me say you are writing a theoretical exam and you want to break it down, you can say something like, okay, profit is 40,000 naira, right? And this is equivalent to 8%. Therefore, are we together? Cost price. Are we together? Is what? X, what you are looking for. And how you know that this, you know that 8% of this X is giving you this. You can say, okay, 8% of X is what? 40,000 naira. If you want to go through the process of trying to explain it, maybe you're writing a theoretical exam, you can ask, okay, 8% is what? 8 over 100 times X is what? 40,000 naira. So X, when you make X the subject of formula, the 100 will multiply with 8 will divide to be 40,000 times 100 all over 8. The same thing we did here, and you still get your answer, which is, excuse me, 500,000 naira. So just know that this proportion, so long as you get it well, cross multiply and get your answer. It always works. Now let's go to number 20. In April, Mrs. Ezako bought a bag of corn for 2,400 naira. So in April, she bought one bag for 2,400 naira. When she wanted to buy more in June, she found out that she could only buy 3/5, 3/5 of the same bag for the same amount, which is 2,400 naira. What percentage increase in the price of, what percentage increase in price from April to June. You know, when something increases, the money you have can only buy a fraction of that thing. You understand? You are buying something 100 naira before, there won't be a bag of rice for 100 naira. All of a sudden, the bag of rice become 150 naira. When you come back with your 100 naira, you can only buy like 100 over 150. That's like 2/3 of one bag of rice, because there is an increase. So that's all happened here. First, let's say initially one bag was this, right? Now when you now come back to buy the same bag, now you are having 3/5. So let's first of all find the new price of this one bag of corn. The new price is 3/5 of one bag, or should I call one, let me call one bag X. So 3/5 of this X now is now giving 2,400. So let's look for the X, which is the new price. So the X will now be 2,400 over 3/5, which is the same as 2,400 times 5/3. If you solve for this, 3 cancel here is 1, 3 cancel here is 800. 800 times 5 is 4,000 naira. So the new price now is what? 4,000 naira. So what we are asked is the percentage increase. Percentage increase is simply find the difference and look for the percentage. So it will be 4,000 minus 2,400 percentage increase. What are we dividing it under? Like when we find what are we dividing? Obviously it will be the one it increased from. So it will be 2,400 times 100 over 1. So 4,000 minus 2,400 is what? 1,600 over 2,400 times 100 over 1. So by the time you solve for this, cancel, you are getting 1,600 over 2,400 times 100 over 1. So after you do your multiplication, you have 66 and 2/3%. So this is your answer, and these are last example for this class. If you have any example, do it, drop in the comment section. Thank you, and see you in the next class.